guys, my name is Kern and I post homerecordingweekly.com. I suppose today I'm going to maybe ruffle a few feathers. The importance of gear, pedals too, is what you do with it. Who are you? Are you a sound person? Do you record? Are you a mixing engineer? Are you a live musician? That's what's going to come into play. So it's what I do. Now, I record at home. I do mixing and mastering, sure, but most of the time I record guitar, piano, and bass right here in my home. I'm also a sound guy, so a lot of times I think in terms of making particular instruments fit or stand out for moments in time. So I would say the tuner obviously is very important. It's not on today's list. It's important and everyone should have one, but so many times in the songs I write, a tuner doesn't do a lot. It can get you in tune, but sometimes I'm not in tune. Sometimes the songs I work on are not in tune. So yeah, of course it's helpful, but it's not on today's list. Do have a tuner though. The first pedal I think is important is the compressor. And at first I didn't, as a young guy, didn't see the importance. The more I do sound, the more I play, the more I record, I try to get it right at the source. The idea is to keep every single note consistent. The idea is to keep notes from punching through above everything else. The idea is to make quiet notes come up to level. The idea is not to use a compressor as an effect. If you want to, there's no rules, but that's why the compressor made my list. This is an old Ross compressor. The gray ones are, I guess they're kind of a bluish gray. They're fetching like $400. I think these are just as good, and they're a fraction of the price. I think I paid 50 bucks for this, and it's awesome. It's a compressor pedal that has a sustain knob and a level knob, and that's it. Pretty clever. Next on the list, you know what? I'm going to kind of go in an order that's on the top of my head. When I bought the Ditto from TC Electronic, I just thought I want something to practice with. I want something to create noise if I play in a band or play somewhere. I actually got it because I was going to do an acoustic set with it using a regular plug-in, and I learned for whatever reason it didn't work, so I didn't use it. But I'm so glad I bought this. I am able to, as I write, play a piece and then loop it and work out parts that, I guess you could do it in your DAW, but it's so much easier when this is on my pedal board to write songs, write passages, and work on solos right there. Another thing this has tremendously helped me with is my scales. I can play a progression that I know is in a certain key and loop it, and then figure out what works in scales. Why does it work? Why does it not work? What doesn't work? What each note in the scale does as far as like your root and your thirds and fifths, and why that is. This thing has been amazing for that, and I highly recommend. I think they're like $120. Maybe you can get it for less now that it's been out for a while. Simple pedal. You record into it, you press a button, it plays it back, and it's fantastic. So anyway, this is the Ditto looper pedal from TC Electronics. Funny that made my list, but it's who I am. It's how I use these pedals. You know what? Let's talk about boost next. I'm not talking about hardcore fuzz. I'm not talking about distortion. I'm talking about boost. Most amps like to be pushed just a tad. You know, tube amps, I don't care for solid state. It brings your signal up a little bit. I've got a bunch of different flavors. I've been lucky enough to do some reviews. This is the Luther pedal from Gearman Dude. It's a Tube Screamer clone, but it's got so much more going on. Tube Screamers, in my opinion, the knobs don't do much. The tone, I mean, there's a couple sweet spots, and then they just don't work like you think they should. They do on the Luther Drive. It's got like a switch here for different areas that different sounds, basically. It's fantastic. And Gearman dude, he's the dude. I mean, he's got the boots, he's got the cool guitars, he does a lot of demos on YouTube. Anyway, I was able to review this, and it sounds fantastic. And it makes your recorded guitars sound that much better. I can't find the words to explain what they do, okay? You can't buy these anymore. It's a Lightning Boy audio pedal, but there's a tube in here. And I'm not gonna sit here and fall on one side of the debate or the other, you know, analog tubes versus solid state. Can you hear it? Can you not hear it? I like what this does to my guitar signal. It's a boost pedal, it's an overdrive pedal. Because there's a real tube in here, I think in my mind it does sound better, but it's fantastic. And it makes so many things. I ran my bass through this the other day when I was recording. It just sounded awesome. It just sounded a little bit dirty, but in the mix, it sounded great. They're made for guitar and you can't find them anymore. It's Lightning Boy Audio. They're now concentrating on making rack gear, reverbs, preamps, things like that. Pretty high-end stuff, but every now and again you'll find one on Reverb or eBay. If you do, grab it. Grab that. I have some more. Not every song sounds the same. Not every song has the same tones. So, you know, when people say this is a crappy overdrive, they sell it for $15, $20, I grab it because it's just a different flavor. Odds are the guitar I use this on is going to be so quiet in the mix anyway. So this thing's well made. It's very heavy. It's a Dan Electro, Daddy-O, just so you know. I got that. I've got some others. Those are my overdrives, and I think they're important and they're on the list. Next on the list, space, movement, ambient. There's many ways you can get it. When I was a young guy, before I played a lick of guitar, my friend had a flanger pedal, and I thought it was the coolest thing. It created movement and space. Think about that Van Halen song, man. It's a Phase 90. That's movement. It gives a song soul. Even if it's on the lowest setting, and that's how I use this. I turn it on, but it's all the way down. It's just adding movement, space. I do have a flanger. Like I said, it's the first ambient texture that I ever heard, and in my mind it's the best. So I do have a flanger. It's an old school DOD stereo flanger. I love it. I think the cheaper a flanger sounds, the better. That's just me. And because I do reviews, VHT let me demo this is called the Mellow Verb. It's a tremolo and a reverb. I like the tremolo side. The reverb sounds good, but I don't use reverb a lot. And I know I record, you think I would, but I like to do the reverb after I've recorded the guitar. Tremolo is fantastic. I love tremolo. I like a broken up tremolo. There's something about a tremolo that sounds fantastic. And these VHT pedals are great. I've had no problems with them. They sound fantastic. The Mellow Verb, that's what this one is. They've got a few. They've got an Echo Verb. I think they have, there's a few in the line. They're great pedals. I like them. But I do have to tell you, I got this as a review unit, and I kept it because I like it so much. And I guess moving along, the next kind of pedal that I think everyone should have is a delay. I didn't say reverb because I think, like I said, reverb is something the sound guy should add. Reverb is something the mixing engineer should add. I think reverb gives too much distance from the instrument. It'll make you sound too far back in the mix. You get washy, things get lost too easily. So I'm a hardcore fan of using delays instead. And you can program delays with tap tempos to match your music. You can change the delays from eighth notes to quarter notes to dotted. There's so many kinds of notes. You can have the repeats, the lengths. I like a tape kind of delay. I know this isn't tape, but it's got the mod in it. This is the MXR Carbon copy. It's got the mod where it makes the repeats kind of lose top end and they get kind of washy as they repeat, and I'm a fan of that. I like that. I wish I could explain that more. A lot of digital delays, I know when they first came out, they're famous because they didn't do that. They were clean every time they repeat, but that kind of gets lost and it gets in the way when you have that same signal on top of what you're playing. I like it to kind of vary and get lost in the background. Again, I like these more than I do reverbs for guitar and bass and keyboards and things like that. I use them all the time. I use them on vocals, I use them everywhere. And I will tell you, I also do use reverbs everywhere when I mix and when I do music. But when it comes to instruments, I think delay is the last and final pedal that I will say everyone should have if you're like me. If you're just a hardcore performer, then your pedals are going to be different. If you record other people only in a live setting, your pedals are going to be different. These are my 5. Now, I didn't classify this with the movement, the ambient kind of pedals. I think I could have, but it's a little bit different. I guess you would usually classify this with reverbs instead of flangers and phasers and things, tremolos and whatnot. So again, this carbon copy by MXR. It's a legend. People love it. It's been around forever. Again, my name's Curran. I post home recording weekly. If you guys want to check it out, I have an ebook I give away over there. It tells you how I built my room treatment. I have absorption panels and bass traps in the corners. They're not fancy. They're made of rock wool and fabric and wood. They were pretty easy to make, but I give you the actual plans, the measurements, links to the products I use to make them. You can have it all for free. Thanks for your time, man.